on a disk floating through space with a tiny sun.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
It's one small step for man.
We shall send to the moon 240,000 miles away from the control station in Houston, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, the length of this football field, made of new metal alloys, some of which have not yet been invented, capable of standing heat and stresses several times more than have ever been experienced, fitted together with a precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, control, communications, food, and survival, on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth, re-entering the atmosphere at speeds of over 25,000 miles per hour, causing heat about half that of the temperature of the sun, almost as hot as it is here today, and do all this, and do all this, and do it right, and do it first before this decade is out, then we must be bold.
You got no audio.
If I just said all that with the fucking audio not on.
You did.
I can hear you just fine.
I didn't.
No, we can. The stream can.
Right. You know what? I'm going to start again.
Oh, wow.
Fuck's sake. Hey, I'm Fight the Flat Earth, and welcome back to the channel that has audio issues, but does to stupidity what NASA did to Roscosmos's hopes and dreams in 1969. I'm sorry about that. I'd set all this up beforehand, but I'd had issues with my microphone because I'd broken it, and I had to re-add the audio input. Right, so yes, 50 years ago and approximately 3 hours ago, man first set foot on the moon. Or did they? And that's what we're going to discuss here today, as there's many people who think the whole thing was filmed in a Hollywood studio. Well, I don't, but I'm not here to debate. This is part of the Casual Spaceman's 50th celebration of the Apollo 11 landings. And welcome to the channel, the Casual Spaceman. How are you? As he's got no audio now. Sucking today. Start again. You've got audio now.
I'm doing very well, Craig. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No worries. Yeah, so the 50th anniversary is a really amazing thing. But like I said, there's many people that think that it didn't happen. So why did you want to have a debate about that, Casual Spaceman?
I don't think there's too many debates around it at the moment. To be honest with you, I haven't seen too many people debating it. I mean, there's lots of YouTube channels talking about various hoaxes and things like that. So I thought this is the ideal time. You know, what, the 50th anniversary, and this is my first debate. So I thought, yeah, why not?
If you guys haven't subscribed to the Casual Spaceman, the link to his channel is in the description. So go and check him out. He covers a lot of stuff to do with NASA and the amazing work that they've done, or have they? Dead Kennedy in Space is here to help. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing great. Thank you very much for having me back to your channel. I'll try and make this less of a dumpster fire than my last debate.
Well, Why You're an Idiot isn't here, so that should be all right.
Thank God.
Welcome back. Yeah, ignore the word trial. His webcam isn't working, so he quickly installed a virtual camera. But he is there, the floating head in space. Thank you for joining us. And also we have the Trashtalkers. We had Hollywood on the channel recently debating me about flat Earth and moon landing and stuff. And today he's brought his partner Smokey. How you guys doing?
We're good, man. Loving life. For everybody who hasn't seen the last one, we are the Trashtalkers. My name is Behringer Hollywood 6 Bonds.
I am Larry Smokey Ramirez Cowan.
And we're great to be very glad to be here, man. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. You are most welcome. Thank you for coming back. And to moderate this is the voice that makes everyone's souls just melt. Sean Hufford, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Craig. It's always a pleasure to be a moderator.
I'm glad you could come. I suck at moderating because I want to get involved too much, so I thought I would get someone who's good at it.
Yeah. So just be quiet, Craig.
Yeah. So with that, there's the structure, a format that the guys agreed on beforehand. Each side are going to get 5 minutes to introduce themselves and talk about why they believe what they do, and then it's just going to go into an open discussion. So I'm just going to pass it off to you, Sean, to look after the show. Have fun, guys.
All right. Have we decided on who's going to take the first 5 minute gap?
No, I don't think we've decided. I don't mind.
Doesn't bother me.
You guys are the guests of the channel. Would you guys like to take your little introduction first?
Sure. All right. Where do I start? First of all, I want this to be clear, and I want everyone to know this without a shadow of a doubt. We are the Trashtalkers, and we are a team, but we do have two totally different narratives and aspects when it comes to the moon landing and flat Earth. Me personally, I am kind of iffy about the whole moon landing thing, and I'm still on the edge about the Earth being, possibly flat or not necessarily an oblate spheroid. But I just want you guys to know that my opinions don't reflect on him and his opinions don't reflect on me. Anything you want to add to that, Smoker?
Yeah, I just want to say, well, basically the same thing, though. I guess I would say a healthy skeptic when it comes to the moon landing. I definitely do not believe in flat Earth. So I know all you guys in the comments are probably going crazy already, but I'm not part of that. So you can miss me with all that. But yeah, I do have questions about the moon landing, and I think this will be a great debate and a great time to bring those up.
Right. If you guys want to go ahead and hop into some things, I mean, I didn't know if you guys wanted to go around the room, but I can definitely start bringing out some questions or some things that I'm iffy about. If you guys want to go ahead and do that.
Well, if you want to take your 5 minutes to spend the time to bring up those questions, if you want, that's the way I'll see it. If you want to do it that way,
okay,
it's up to you.
All right,
and we can address more as we go along.
Right. Well, one of just let me pull my notes up here. One of the biggest things that has me iffy about the moon landing, and let me say this: it's very, very possible that we went to the moon, that man landed on the moon. That it's very possible, but I think that it's not so credible that we brought footage back. So it is possible that we landed, but the footage that was shown to the American people and the people around the world, that is what I think could possibly be fake. And the reason I say that is for numerous things. For instance, I've traveled the world, And I remember the days of having Polaroid cameras, and you take a Polaroid picture or any kind of film roll that you have through any X-ray or any kind of radar, anything that involves radiation. When you go to develop that film, there's going to be black spots or, you know, overexposure of the film as you develop it. And that's one of the main reasons that has me on the edge about it, because they went through the Van Allen radiation belt and did all this, you know, glorious things to where they filmed it and it was all remote controlled and for the very first time. And the film just comes back, even though it was in the 60s, you know, it just comes back all grainy. And so that goes back to me saying it is possible that they did land on the moon, but the footage is what I question.
I want to say I believe that at some point in time we have gone to the moon, but the whole thing about it being in 1969 is what bothers me. Now, we were in the midst of the Vietnam War,
right?
And you know what better way to take people's mind off of that when you have the most unaccepted war by the American people and protests going on in the street. So how can you take their mind off of it? That's a good way. And we were also in the midst of the Soviet
space race.
Yeah, the space race with the Soviets. And all that just leads to questions.
Yeah.
Basically.
And if I could bring up a few more things, not only the film, yeah, we'll get into it some more, but definitely the film is one of the main things that gets me is that, like I said, it's possible that they landed, but bringing that footage back through the Van Allen radiation belt where there's this astronomical amount of radiation, that's what seems a little fishy. And if you look at other aspects that happened during 1969 to 72, some of it just looks a little weird. And we'll get into a lot more of that, but just wanted to put a preference out there and let you guys know where we stand.
Well, thank you for that, guys. Team Space Race. Would you like to take your 5 minutes up? Oh, we lost your audio.
Sorry?
First spaceman?
I think it's on his end.
You should have your audio coming through, buddy.
Oh, sorry, I have my mic on mute. Sorry, that's my bad.
Am I good?
Kevin, I was just going to say, Kevin, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go next, or what do you want to do?
You go ahead.
You sure? Okay, that's cool. No problem. So I've just got a bit of an opening statement, and actually some of why I actually say actually addresses your questions there anyway, Hollywood. So I'll just go ahead and do that now. Okay. So before Apollo 11 even took off, there were actually 2 other whole space programs. Okay. First of all, there was Project Mercury. Now this is the program that got Americans into space and orbiting the Earth, and there were 6 manned missions of that. Okay, and there were dozens and dozens of unmanned launches as well, that some of them actually fell pretty spectacularly. Okay, after that there was then Project Gemini. Okay, this was a program that NASA used to learn how to rendezvous and actually dock with another spacecraft, because they had no idea how to do it until that point, and also to do EVAs, or what they call spacewalks. And also just to see how the astronauts dealt with longer periods in space, like several days rather than like a day or a few hours and stuff like that. And there are actually 10 manned missions and at least a couple of unmanned missions in that project. And then we go on to Project Apollo. And as we all know, this project was to get boots on the moon surface, really. Okay, so start with Apollo 11. We'll start with Apollo 1. Tragically, we lost 3 astronauts on that one. Where that was during a static test on the launch pad. 3 astronauts died inside the module on that. After which there was at least 3 unmanned launches after that. Apollo 7 and 9 were Earth orbiting flights to test the command module and the lunar module around the Earth. Apollo 8 was the first to leave low Earth orbit and actually then orbit the moon. Apollo 10 tested the lunar module above the moon within a few miles of the surface. It's pretty much like a dress rehearsal of Apollo 11. So therefore, there were actually 4 Apollo manned missions in total before Apollo 11 even took off. Okay, and then a grand total of 20 manned missions into space before Apollo 11 as well, if you include Gemini and Mercury. Okay, so not counting all the that's not counting all the unmanned test launches across all of those programs. probably totaling 30 odd launches and flights, maybe even more. Okay. Now, there are an estimated 400,000 people involved in the design, development, building, and testing of the huge number of components, as well as the launching of the Apollo program alone. Not even mentioning how many involved in the Mercury and Gemini programs before that. Now, there were literally hundreds of millions of people that watched live TV. I want you to hear that, live TV broadcasts, okay, of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walking on the moon, let alone the 5 more missions that walked on the moon after that, okay? Not to mention the estimated 1 million people that gathered around Kennedy Space Center to watch the Apollo 11 Saturn V launches with their own eyes, okay? And I've actually met one of them that was there. So with all that activity in mind, okay, I'd like to know how all those missions could have been faked without somebody like a whistleblower that was directly involved in all the development that could come up with some irrefutable documented evidence that blew the whole thing wide open. The fact is there's not one, apart from one nut job. He basically worked for a company called Rocketdyne that produced, I think it was engines and all kinds of different components. And he worked in their marketing department, basically as a clerk. He came forward, told a whole load of bunch of lies and nonsense, but he didn't have one single verified, documented proof of anything he said, not one single thing. Besides, like I said, he was never involved in the development of any of the parts of Rocketdyne anyway. But there was not, you've got to ask yourself, there was not one single engineer, scientist, designer, pilot, astronaut, or even a freaking toilet cleaner that came forward and whistleblow on the whole thing. Not one single person with any credibility. Then there's the technology of the day. Okay. And then there's the technology of the day. Now, CGI didn't exist between 69 and 72. Secondly, we simply didn't have the technology or the know-how to actually fake live broadcasts, let alone the recorded film between 69 and 72. Now, I've got a video and an article from 2 separate filmmakers that actually show us why that is the case. We simply didn't have the technology. But I think the video actually goes on too long to play for the opening statement, but I can give you the links for those later on if you like, and I can put it in the chat. Now, I'll end with this. Now, President Clinton can't keep a secret of oral sex in his own Oval Office between 2 people in private. What makes anyone think that we can keep these massive projects from anybody seeing it from the whole world and faking it in front of the whole world? Do you see where I'm coming from with that? So, in conclusion with that, faking it just doesn't add up, and it was just basically impossible to achieve. That's all I've got to say on that.
Well, it was agreed on before we went live that time would be shared between the participants, and you've literally just eaten up all of DeadKennedyInSpace time.
Well, actually, that's not quite accurate. Actually, we actually agreed 5 minutes each, not 5 minutes between the 2 sides.
Well, when oh God, I forgot your names. I'm sorry. The Trashtalkers.
Yep.
Is that all right? The Trashtalkers said they would go ahead and take their time equally together, so we kind of said, you guys will do the same. It's not a big deal. You did a very good job on covering everything. Would you have anything to add as the last statement, Kennedy, just to give you an opportunity?
Basically, all I had was I had a list of the common moon hoax arguments, and I was basically going to play Nostradamus and predict what the Trash Talkers were going to question. And I'm questioning their claim of being skeptics, because every question they've had so far has already been addressed and answered long ago. And the very first thing on my list was the Van Allen belts. So,
right,
I don't see anything new here, and that's what kind of bothers me.
Okay, well, in that case, I believe we're just going to open up to a back and forth discussion at this point. Or Trash Talkers, would you like to bring up one of your points to actually make it a talking point?
I do actually. To what Kennedy said, give me an answer for that. Why is it the footage has no effect from radiation? Give me an answer to that.
Well, I can answer that with a really simple Second question: when you take a camera, airport X, destroy the film in it?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Your audio is kind of in and out.
Sorry, my action's gone bad, which is great because it was fine when we started. When you take a camera with film on it through an airport X-ray, does that X-ray destroy the film on the camera?
No, but as the picture that's come up now, if literally this is something you can try yourself, and like I said, it's very possible we went to the moon. I just think the footage is a little shaky. What you're looking at right now is basically film that has been through some form of radiation, and you get spots, you get lines, and this is modern footage here. We're talking about footage from the 60s, and it's just crystal clear. I mean, there's nothing that just has me a little skeptical. I mean,
well, you do know, as I said in my opening statement that it was a live broadcast. Are you aware of that?
Oh, yes, I understand.
Done live. Yeah.
Well, you're saying we didn't have the technology to fake it, but we had the technology to broadcast from the moon.
Yeah. There's a whole difference between broadcasting from the moon and actually having been able to actually fake it. I mean, I don't know. You see, one of the things that was accused of, that Stan Kubrick was accused of doing the whole Hollywood thing and faking it in the studio. I mean, I don't know if you've actually seen his film of that time. What was the movie called he did in that time? I keep forgetting the name of it. Space Odyssey. Space Odyssey. If you play that movie, you play that movie, okay, and you look at the moon. You look at the moon part of it when they're actually on the moon. It looks awful. And that was his best work. That was his best work.
The common theory that's out there,
what's that called?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying the common theory that's out there is that he set up the whole studio for a practice mission. What do you say to that? You don't think that happened at all?
Well, if I could back him up on that just a little bit. Him referring to the whole practice missions, this is proof, or I guess I shouldn't say proof. This is fact. This has been analyzed by photographer professionals and actually admitted by NASA. Craig, I don't know if you can pull this picture up, but the one of Michael Collins, there's a picture that they put out of Michael Collins saying that this is an actual moonwalk. That they published it and had it labeled as this is a picture of Michael Collins on the moon. Now, when you look at this picture, turns out it was another picture from a planned, basically trial run spacewalk that they published in a magazine, and they took the exact same picture right there on screen, and they literally just blacked out the back and just reverse the image. It's the exact same image of Michael Collins, just with the back.
Does that look like really they're really on the moon though? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, they said it might be a setup
the one some sort of practice, but it's not an actual set that they're actually going to film in.
Again, I'm going off of what
I'm going to have to refute it.
Yes. Actually, the website that came from, again, this didn't come from NASA. .gov, but according to this website, NASA officials said that the original picture where it's blacked out in the back was an actual spacewalk, and then you see the picture next to him and it's completely blacked out and reversed. My question is, why do that? Why do that? If you went and you say that, hey, this is a moonwalk, why are we looking at the exact same picture mirrored without the back?
I do know. I mean, looking at that picture there, I do know that they actually use those kind of you see those frames and the harnesses and all the rest of it. They actually use that to try and mimic zero or near the 18% of gravity on the moon, to mimic that kind of gravity. They use that very well just to see if how they can move around with the spacesuits and how they can walk and etc. and all the rest of it. That's about as accurate as they can get on Earth. I know that definitely.
Here's my question is why?
I'm pretty sure it's not a film set. Well, exactly what I've just said. So they can mimic. So they can actually mimic the gravity that's on the moon. Why wouldn't they? If they're gonna, they need to sort of practice every aspect of the moon landing, and you know, and that's the best way. That was the best and most accurate way they could possibly do it on the planet Earth.
I understand, and
that's what that looks like. I've seen lots of footage. I've seen lots of footage of these in these things, but it definitely wasn't a movie set.
Well,
definitely not.
NASA publishing that picture on I think it was Time magazine and saying this is an actual spacewalk. But then years later, we find this picture. So which one is it? Is it an actual spacewalk?
No, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, have a look at the frames that are on there. Okay, then you have a look at hold on. Then look at the what we call. Well, I think what are the real footage. Do you actually see all those frames and all the rest of it? I mean, harness is one thing, but all those frames all over them?
Right. I agree with you totally. I mean, it just seems a little fishy that you get a stamp of approval. Yes, this is when he was walking on the moon. And then years later, well, it's not really him walking on the moon. We just took a picture, mirrored it, and took out the blacking the background. I mean, why?
Well,
why would you do that? I know you've been over it before. I
haven't heard anybody actually saying that. They actually, like I said, they had a kind of like a setup basically in a warehouse where they actually had those frames and the trapeze and the wires and all the rest of it holding them up, because like I said, that was the only way they could actually mimic the gravity that you have on the moon here on Earth. How else could they do it? They got to practice they had all sorts of different tools to start with, so they got to be able to practice with those tools in the kind of best way they can mimic gravity on the moon, on the planet Earth.
Right.
And how else can they do it? Why wouldn't they practice
if they're doing that,
it was a practice, not a moon set.
They're doing those practice runs, so would it be impossible to make a film out of that?
Yeah, because as I said, I'll tell you what I could do. I mean, we can play you can play this video now if you like, or you could read the article. I've got two things. There's one is a video from a filmmaker, a very experienced filmmaker. Well, in fact, they're both experienced filmmakers, and he produced a video explaining in detail how it was impossible to actually fake the moon landings with the current technology they use for film now. It's just completely impossible. And he's an expert, and the other filmmaker as well. I've got an article that goes through it and explains the whole thing. So I can bring that up if you want to. I mean, they're experts. Yeah. They're filmmakers experts, and it was just during the time from 1969 and 72. And bear in mind as well, CGI didn't exist between 69 and 72. That's the other thing to bear in mind.
And we're not here to turn down evidence.
No.
I mean, we're actually here to learn. We're not saying we know exactly what happened.
Right.
We're just bringing up these questions and hopefully making an interesting debate out of it. So
okay.
any evidence you have, show us.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Craig, I'll send you the link to an article. What we could do is we can read through it together if you want.
Okay.
I'll put it, where do you want me to do, in Discord or?
Yeah, just send me on Discord.
Okay. 1 second, just you open up Discord again. I think the video just goes on for about 20 minutes, and it's and a lot of the information in the video is quite important. So I think that would just go on for too long. But I think this link to the article is probably a little bit better, and I can read through it together if you want.
Sure, sounds good.
You want to talk amongst yourselves for a second while I bring that up?
Yeah, like I said, we're not here to discredit anything. We're not saying we know anything. And again, this is my opinion. This doesn't reflect on Smokey, but it just seems like, yes, y'all, they probably did. They probably landed on the moon. But
then why are you here?
At that time, like you said, with no CG,
we're here to bring up those.
Yeah, with those kind of questions, they probably did it. My thing is the footage. Hold on, let me finish.
If you wanted someone to like rage and throw
that's
a fit
not,
and say no, we know for a fact, then you probably got it wrong.
That's not going to happen here. We're not here to say we definitively know anything. But what my question is, we've already been over.
Yeah, I'm just getting that.
Hold on. Let them finish the thing before you start interrupting.
Yeah, it's just some things they just don't fit into the puzzle. Like I said, it's possible they did land, but the footage, the evidence that they brought back is the thing that I question. And I have many other things that I want to get over.
Yeah, so it's all good the way you're doing it. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry. I mean, you know, this is something I've been interested in for probably most of my life since I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I would probably get a little bit hyped up, but I'm not. So but it's all good. Honestly, I'm not fine. Don't you know? If I sound a bit getting angry or cross or anything, then no, it's nothing like that. Don't take it personally. It's all good. It's all good. So anyway, I'll read it, and perhaps, I don't know if Craig can sort of scroll down. I'll read what it actually says. This is a common theory that the film director Stanley Kubrick helped NASA fake the historic footage of its 6 successful moon landings. And it goes on to say, I'll skip all the introduction, but it says, but would it have really been possible to do that with technology available at the time? I'm not a space travel expert, an engineer, or a scientist. I am a filmmaker and a lecturer in film post-production. And while I can say how we landed on the moon in 1969, I can say with some certainty that the footage would have been impossible to fake. Right, there's 2 different ways of capturing movie images. One is film, actual strips of photographic material onto which series of images are exposed. Another is video, which is an electronic method of recording onto various mediums such as moving magnetic tape. With video, you can also broadcast to a television receiver. A standard motion picture film records images at 24 frames per second, while broadcast television is typically at 25 or 30 frames per second, depending on where you are in the world. If we go along with the idea that moon landings were taped in a TV studio, then we would expect them to be 30 frames per second video, which was the television standard at the time. However, we know that the video from the first moon landing was recorded at 10 times per second, or it was called slow scan television with a special camera.
And we were capable of doing all of that in the 60s?
No, this is what he's actually talking about. He's making the comparison to what the technology is available and what you need to be able to do to be able to fake it. Okay, so if I read on, you'll be able to understand. Some people may contend that when you look at people moving in slow motion, they appear to be in low gravity environment. Slowing down film, which is what a lot of people are claiming, requires more frames than usual. Okay, so you start with a camera capable of capturing more frames in a second than normal. This is what is called overcranking. This is what the filmmaker in the video says, the same thing as well. Excuse me. When this is played back at the normal frame rate, this footage plays back for longer. If you can't overcrank your camera, but you record at normal frame rate, you can instead artificially slow down the footage. But you need a way to store the frames and generate extra frames to slow it down. Now, if you scroll down, you'll see a machine. I'm not sure. Let's have a look. That's the television camera on the Apollo. But what he's actually talking about is a piece of machinery enables you to do that. It wasn't actually available until 12 years later after the last moon landing. Okay. So it goes on to say, at the time of the broadcast, magnetic disc recorders capable of storing slow motion footage can only capture 30 seconds in total for a playback of 90 seconds of slow motion video. So to capture 143 minutes in slow motion, you need to record and store 47 minutes of live action, which simply wasn't possible. Okay, I don't know if you get that so far. I'm not a technical person with these kind of things, but it's kind of making sense to me. They could have, and then the people actually say they could have had an advanced storage recorder to create slow motion footage. Everyone knows NASA gets the tech before the public. Well, and he goes on to say, well, maybe they did have a super secret extra storage recorder, but one almost 3,000 times more powerful, more advanced. Very doubtful. And then, listen, I'll leave you to read the rest of it, but I think you're probably getting the idea that what he's actually saying, and this is an experienced filmmaker saying is impossible, for what you're actually saying. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It sounds like he says doubtful, but not impossible.
Well, okay, yeah, fair. We could say that it's doubtful. I mean, we don't really know what could possibly go on in secret, but it's highly unlikely. But but then going back to what I said in my statement, did you hear what I said about what I said about the statement of how huge these launches and projects were, and the number of people that are involved in it, and the number of people that witnessed it. Yet President Clinton gets a blowjob in the Oval Office, and he can't keep it secret between two people. Do you see what I'm saying? And
you had a good point about the politics. Explain that a little bit.
Well, it kind of goes off the topic there, but people every time there's an election, we are taught, the candidates will exclaim how the government's lying to you. Yet when it comes to topics like this, we believe, oh, there's no way they could be lying to us.
Right. Whenever there's a presidential debate, oh, well, we don't like Hillary because she's a crook, she's a thief, she's a liar. We don't like Obama, he's a liar. We don't like Trump, he lied about this. But when they give you something like this, you just take it 100%. Oh, yep, that happened. So why is it that we
and there's multiple proven conspiracies on the record.
Yeah, Gulf of Tonkin being one.
The Tuskegee syphilis experiments.
Right.
There's many. I mean, I get what you're saying, that there's only been one whistleblower and no one believes him. But do we know for 100% fact that guy was lying?
Yeah, and not only that, but everyone in this room, everyone in this chat, no one really knows. No one really knows 100%. You don't know. You're just going off of what you've been told, and you're spewing out rhetoric that someone told you. No one here has ever been to them.
No. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No.
So you know for 100% fact that we went. There's not a doubt of maybe a percent of a doubt.
No doubt in my mind. No doubt. Well,
I think you're creating a false dichotomy here. It's not either you believe what you're told or there's a third option, which is you look into it yourself and you're pretty damn sure.
Keyword, you're pretty sure.
And that's what we're doing. We're just looking into how sure
you are. We don't get our information from what we taught at school or go and watch YouTube videos to do our research. That's not how it works.
Well, you're definitely not doing it through YouTube, because they block out all the you definitely can't search for
Oh,
no,
yes,
I tried, dude. No, that is very.
No, I tried to search.
No, yes, you can. Trust me.
Moon conspiracy.
Have a look through some of my videos. And I do debunk some the moon.
I can probably find it. I'm not saying.
Hold on. I thought we're not gonna talk over each other here.
I believe that you probably have debunking videos, and yes, you can find those by the dozen.
No problem.
But if you were to search right now on YouTube for moon landing hoax, you're not going to get anything but debunking videos.
Yeah,
there is nothing but debunking. There is not a single opposing argument in those search.
And if you do happen to find it, it's way down the list.
Well, I don't even think it's on the list. I think you have to actually go and find the people's pages who are saying it, and then happen to stumble across them.
And to add to that, we can all agree that one of my favorite podcasts, the Joe Rogan Experience, is probably one of the biggest podcasts on earth. Literally 6 months ago, you could YouTube Joe Rogan moon landing hoax. It'd be the first thing to pop up in the search results. You do that now, nowhere in the top 10.
Oh, all you get is videos from big media. You get CNN videos, or you get Time videos. You don't get independent voices.
Right. It's like they're almost trying to, well, no, believe this. This is what happened. This is what it, don't think about it. Don't question. Take our word for it. And if you want to go a little deeper, then you might find a grain of some kind of truth to it. But it's and Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, that's kind of, if you ask me, you said that they started to, demonetize everything that you put out. The reason that you have Flat Earth, just because you have Flat Earth in your title, automatically they don't want that out there. Even though you're on the opposing side of it, they don't want people to see that. So
and that sounds like censoring the media to me, which is exactly
that works
what
against
JFK
your point.
Not to do.
That works against your point, though, because if an algorithm is just picking up on keywords, how is it differentiating between debunkers and hoaxers? It's just picking up on certain keywords and then filtering them how?
Well,
because I mean, I wouldn't say it's just an algorithm picking up on keywords. I would say something is actually sorting through these videos.
Exactly. They're showing you what they want you to see.
Wait. There are billions of hours of YouTube videos uploaded all the time. There is no workforce big enough to keep track of all of that as it's being uploaded. It is an algorithm because it has to be.
Well, I'm saying you can do it right now, though. You can search for it and, prove
You
my
on your
point
own
if you
can.
want.
You on your own can sort through hours and hours and hours and hours of YouTube footage that's being uploaded
saying.
constantly.
That is not.
I think you're missing what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you search right now for moon landing hoax, you will not find an opposing view, only debunking videos.
And that's my question. If this footage is being uploaded all the time, what workforce is out there that is able to sort through it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not an algorithm expert. But
well, that's basic numbers. I'm saying there's thousands of hours constantly being uploaded. There is no workforce big enough to keep track of all that. It has to be a bot.
I've just done a search now, found one straight away.
Well, I can tell you this: every time we upload a video and we get demonetized. Hold on, say that again.
I just did a search and I found one straight away.
What did you type in? I would love to see that. Was it in the top 10?
Trouble is, you see, I avoided putting moon landing hoax, right? Because obviously, the moon landing hoax are also going to encompass people that are debunking it as well. So what I put was moon landings didn't happen, right? I put in moon landings didn't happen. Really simple, okay? And
what are your results?
The fifth one down, I've got.
What's the first video? What's the first video?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Hold on, I'll tell you. Right, the first one was the moon. What was the moon landing fake? Okay, that's kind of a skeptical one. It could be right. Then you got the NVIDIA thing. I can talk about that later on. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth one down. I don't believe the moon landings happened.
Oh, so you had to go six.
Well, that's not even the point.
And then there's the eighth one down, and the hang on, and the eighth one down is Shutterstock moon landing exposed. Another one, at NASA almost didn't film the first moon landing. I'm not sure whether that's one. Stanley Kubrick moon landing conspiracy.
So what did you search again?
I typed in moon landings didn't happen.
And and these ones that you're calling out, you were sure they're not just debunking videos, right?
Yeah, some of them debunking videos. Yeah, absolutely. Of course they will, because it doesn't work when you put in a search. It doesn't work to say it's not automatically filtering out all the stuff that they don't want you to see. It's purely working on the keywords and the keywords in the title, and also in the tags in the videos as well. Yeah, I mean. But I'm saying every time we
upload a video, it gets demonetized immediately, and then you appeal it, and someone actually watches your video. That's not an algorithm doing that, correct?
Right.
Yeah, well, that's probably somebody reporting you.
Right, and the things that are getting demonetized is if you put hoax, you put flat earth, you put these trigger words. Why is it that the trigger words, the moon hoax, instant demonetization? Like, why? It's just it's literally censoring people to talk about.
Well,
I think that's actually the sensitive moment. I think. Sorry, go on, Kevin.
I was just gonna say that's YouTube politics. That's YouTube trying to balance itself between being a publisher and a platform. If it stands as a platform, it can allow whatever and just say, we're just the platform. We don't necessarily agree with any of this. But they're trying to also be a publisher, which means they're trying to make themselves seem a little more legit. And to be fair, they're terrible at it. I'll 100% admit that. YouTube is horribly mismanaged.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I agree.
If we can go ahead.
Can I just rewind a little bit, because I would like to go back to one of your points about you're making about governments. Is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah, it's okay. And I apologise for talking over you earlier on. I was just getting a bit excited. So you just go ahead and tell me next time. So sorry about that for talking over you before. Yeah, just the point you're talking about governments and governments lying. I will freely admit, I used to work in the world of politics. I used to be involved in politics. Governments lie to us all the time. They do. It's as simple as that. I mean, that proves it through history when you got all these different scandals like Watergate, which is one of the first biggest scandals that came out, and a whole load of other different things after that. We know that. And as the filmmaker that was in one of my videos actually said, if the government hasn't lied to you today, they probably haven't had their coffee today yet. There's no doubt about
so
that.
you knowing that they
hold on. Let me finish the point. But I want to ask you one question. Okay. Is any human being capable of lying?
1,000%.
Absolutely. Okay. So if we're saying that the government's lied to us, I fully admit that. Okay. But you're also talking about NASA and all the rest of it. Then the information you've picked up, or your dad said that you were brought up with as well. He must have picked that information up from somewhere before as well.
Right.
So
it could be totally made up.
It could be totally made up. But the difference is, you see, the information that we get, and I know about the moon landings, comes from evidence. Okay, it's not just from what I was told.
From government subsidy.
No, stop. Hold on. Let me get to the point. Okay, there's lots of independent people, independent from the government and NASA, that have actually proved and can prove that we landed on the moon. And one of those people, and Craig's pointed out before, is ham radio operators. Okay, they tracked it. They tracked the moon landings. They know exactly with the way the radios worked, exactly where the Apollo spacecraft was. Okay, secondly, as well, the Russians. Now, you said before as well, the Russians, we were, the West and the East were pretty much at war, more or less, without actually firing a shot at each other during that time, and it was really high. And they were in a moon race. The Russians had every single thing to gain if they had any kind of inkling, any idea that the Americans faked the moon landings. They would be all over it. They'd be jumping all over it, but they didn't. And another point is I want to pick up on as well is that, I've seen the evidence of it as well, is that the Russians actually sent probes to the moon after the moon landings. They picked up some samples and got it back to Earth, unmanned probes, and they compared the samples with the NASA samples of the moon rocks and the dust, and it matched perfectly. And there's no other material on Earth that looks like the moon rocks and the moon landings. You see, it's that kind of evidence. That's the difference. That's the difference between, people. Sorry, go on.
Casual Spaceman.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up. That actually brings up something I wanted to talk about. You said that there's nothing like a moon rock on Earth. Craig, if you could please do me a favor and pull the moon rock up. When Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, Neil Armstrong, when they came back, they actually gave the Prime Minister of Holland, as a souvenir, a moon rock. This is a plaque signed, stamped seal of approval from Neil, Buzz, and Michael Collins. Turns out this moon rock that they gave them was petrified wood. Why would you do that? Why would you pass off a moon rock? Go ahead.
So who gave them this rock, and who said that it was actually petrified wood?
You can actually look at it on the screen right now. It's from Neil Collins, Buzz Aldrin, and Neil Armstrong. And that same piece of material that you're looking at has been tested, and Google it. This has been proven to be petrified wood. This is not a moon rock, and they passed it off as a moon rock.
Who proved that it was petrified wood?
Yeah, he wants to know who.
I'll pull the sources up here. Just give me 1 second. Go ahead and talk amongst you guys.
I don't know if you've heard about this, Kevin. It's the first I've heard about this.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this before. I've actually heard an explanation for it, but offhand I can't remember it, unfortunately. I bet if I were to look into the chat, I bet they're all screaming it right now.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. Let's see. A moon rock given to the Dutch Prime Minister by Apollo 11 astronauts in '69 has turned out to be fake. Curators of Amsterdam's big something museum, where the rock has attracted tens of thousands of visitors each year, has been studied and detected by scientists to be petrified wood. The lunar rock,
Which
so on,
scientist?
so on, and so on. I'm just reading from a Telegraph UK Science. Yeah, there you go. My thing is just why though? Why give them a piece of petrified wood and pass it off as a moon rock? Why would you do that?
I think they're doubting the validity of it
Being petrified. I
wood.
understand.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't actually. I can't really comment on it because I don't know anything about this. I absolutely know nothing about it, so I can't really comment until I've actually sort of looked at it and read about it. But I would actually want to know the validity of the people actually proved that it was petrified wood, or there could have been a monumental cock up. I don't know.
Well, it says here a guy named where is it? Crap. It's a nondescript, pretty much worthless stone, said Frank Buick, a geologist who was involved with the investigation. Researchers at Amsterdam's Free University were able to tell at a glance that the rock was unlikely to be from the moon, a conclusion that was borne out by test. The United States Embassy in The Hague carrying out an investigation into the affair. NASA gave moon rocks to more than 100 countries following the lunar missions. But yeah, let's say that this is petrified wood, and this has been given to a prime minister by these 3 astronauts, and it turns out to be petrified wood. Why?
Well,
Why
first and
not
foremost,
just
I
give them a rock?
don't know why. I can't really answer that because, as I said, I don't know anything about it. But I would highly doubt that 3 astronauts would intentionally give over what was purported to be a moon rock, then knowing that it was petrified wood.
From what I'm seeing in the chat, the astronauts didn't give it at all. It came from somewhere else.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
So where did it come? Have you got anything to say where it came from?
Someone named Middendorf. I'm not sure who that is though.
That's a good find, though. I've got to say that was a really good find. You've done your homework.
Yeah,
that was really good.
It raises questions, definitely.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just us bringing up the shadow of a doubt, like we were talking about.
These are the things that make it iffy to me. You know, that the petrified wood and the picture of Michael Collins being reversed. You know, and you know, man,
Can we go on to the flag waving now?
Please.
All right, so obviously there's the. I know you're gonna say it's a wire holding it up, and I get that. But why is it waving?
Okay, go ahead. Why? Okay.
It's
not waving.
Go ahead, Spaceman.
It's being moved by the
sprinkled.
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, we both know the same thing. It only moves when the astronauts touch it, and you can look at footage.
But there's the picture of it.
Sorry,
picture of it waving without them touching it, though.
Yeah, see, look at that.
No, he is touching it. No, he is touching it right there. Trust me.
But
there's up in that.
Look at that.
They're
He just walked by
twisting
it.
it into the ground.
He's twisting it in the ground. Look, can you not see the pole? He's twisting it in the ground. He's trying to move it.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
definitely see
all the
that,
time.
and we're
Yeah.
not doubting that they're moving it at that point.
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see.
Dude, that looks so.
Did you send him the picture?
Oh, I'll send him that.
Because there's a solid picture of them not touching it, and it's still.
I'll send it to him. Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, from that, it's moving only because the astronauts are moving it. Okay, a couple of things you need to take into consideration: the pole and the cross pole are made actually from lightweight metal. Okay, particularly the cross pole, the way it's attached at the top is quite very springy. Now, originally, when they decided they were going to use the flag and they're going to put it on a cross pole, now the NASA officials wanted it all nice and straight and all the rest of it as well. And the astronauts said, no, let's shorten it. So he pushed it in along the pole to make it look crumpled as if it's kind of giving a waving effect. So if you've got any still images that look like it's waving, it isn't. The only time it's actually moving in a moving image is when the astronauts are touching it. And when they lets go, it kind of, I think at one point, when Neil Armstrong lets go, it kind of bounces and then it stops. And then there's plenty of obviously there's plenty of moving images, plenty of film as well when you can actually see it and it's all crumpled, but it's not moving. There's loads.
And there's plenty of footage that show it in the exact same place over long periods of time, not budging whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Loads
So
of footage.
let
Tons.
me-
Good. Look.
Kennedy, let me ask you a question. Are you a gambler, man?
Not particularly.
Okay, let's say you had to put all your life savings on this. Are you betting not that we went to the moon, but that the footage we received is 100% real? You putting your money on yes, the footage is 100% real, all of it, or no?
Oh, I hope you'd say yes.
I would put my money on that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would.
Huh. A lot of it just seems sketchy, man. Also, Bill Clinton, you brought him up. In Bill Clinton's book, he had said that he had met a carpenter before he was president. And the carpenter told Bill Clinton that, I don't believe 1 second that those guys landed on the moon. Bill Clinton, after spending 8 years in the White House, he said he thought that guy was crazy out of his mind. But after 8 years in the White House, he thought this guy was ahead of his time. Just Bill Clinton, somebody that was, I mean, yeah, you can say the jokes about him and about him smoking weed and getting blowjobs, but this is the president of the United States that has some doubt. And even with, dude, if you look at the press conference that, Buzz Aldrin and them had when they came back, these guys looked like they were at a funeral. Imagine if you just came back from the moon. Well, this isn't the day after. This isn't the week after. And I understand your body has to adjust back to Earth's gravity. I understand that. But getting a little feedback here. But with some of the questions the reporters would ask them, like, when you were on the moon, did you guys see any stars? And they're like, Buzz like, oh, Neil, you want to answer that one? Like, well, I don't remember seeing any stars up there. Years later, in Neil Armstrong's
We know the light refractory and the shutter speed and all that.
Yeah, we understand that.
We went through the simple arguments for it. So
right, but one minute he says he didn't.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, let me finish the statement.
Okay, go on.
1 minute he says he didn't see any stars. He said he couldn't recall seeing any. But years later he says, "Oh, they were beautiful. We saw thousands. It was gorgeous. One of the greatest light shows I've ever seen." Just you.
Well,
1 minute you retract your.
How about some context for two of those? I wouldn't be surprised to hear that the seeing stars quote wasn't on the moon, but on the way to the moon.
Yeah, I can answer that. What you're actually talking about, the first time you're actually talking about was the press conference, right? And the question was asked, could you see any stars on the moon? And the answer was no, I don't remember seeing any stars on the moon, inverted commas, okay? And I think you probably heard the explanation. I think Kevin could probably explain it better than I can. Is that you probably won't on the light side of the moon. The chances are you won't see any moon either with the naked eye or a camera. I mean, I give an example. Okay,
Right.
give you a simple example. Go out in the middle of the day. Okay, can you see the stars in the middle of the day?
No, but you can see the moon.
You can see the moon sometimes. Yes, you can. But can you see
Which
stars?
is a lot. But the moon's a lot bigger and a lot brighter.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Can you see stars during the day?
Other than the sun, no.
No. Okay, of course you can't. And the reason being is because of what is simply called as a light pollution. Okay, the guys are actually on a moon which is highly reflective of the sunlight, very, very highly reflective. So that's actually pretty much just washing out your eyes. And the same with the exposures on the camera. The cameras were set in such a way the exposure settings to be able to take pictures on the moon's surface. They didn't have cameras that were looking up in the sky. They would have to be set completely differently.
Well, I'm not doubting that.
Checking.
Go ahead.
But then
the other. Casual Spaceman, just a second. I have to interject with some fact checking because a claim was made that is factually incorrect. It was claimed that the post-flight conference was like the day after the landing. The landing was July 24th. That conference was for September 16th.
That's what I said.
Just make sure your dates are correct.
Yeah, that's what I said. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, but yeah, you said they were exhausted, but we're talking about a press conference that didn't have to happen.
Can Can I finish what I was saying?
But
because I was talking about
there-
the other thing.
Go ahead.
Well, the other time later on, when they've actually said they can see stars, what I think it was, at least stand corrected if it wasn't, I think it was Neil Armstrong that said it. They could see stars, and they probably could between the Earth and the Moon. If they looked out and they could look if the spacecraft is at the right direction, because it was actually rotating anyway on the way there and on the way back, because of thermal aspects of the space capsule. But anyway, that's another thing. And if they looked out the window, they could see stars. And it was the same with people on the ISS. They could see stars when they're on the dark side of the Earth quite easily, but on the light side, they can't. That's
Okay.
the context of it. That's what happened. It was that press conference said he couldn't see stars on the moon. Not they can see
I
stars
mention-
in the spacecraft.
Can
Go
I
ahead,
mention
we're
something
gonna-
about
Go on,
that?
Ken.
Yes.
About that conference. Sean's right. It wasn't right after they got back. It was after they spent 3 weeks in quarantine, and the first thing they had to do was come out and do a press conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
right,
that's
well, let's
why
move
they
on.
look exhausted. Not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
and also two of the astronauts, both Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins. You could. There's lots of videos saying they hated the limelight. They didn't like it. Buzz Aldrin loved it.
You're right.
But they didn't like
I-
it. They don't want to be there. It was that, and they were exhausted. They just wanted to get out.
Look, you as you said, yes, they, in my eyes, they didn't look exhausted. They just looked like that was the worst time of their life. I mean, I understand what you're saying. They probably were exhausted, but they just look like, we don't want to be here, man. Why are we sitting here talking to y'all? But go ahead, Smokey. What were you going to say?
I just want to move on to a different subject. At the risk of sounding unlearned and ignorant, why did we go there in the first place? Just a simple explanation of
Space race.
what was our mission.
Politics. Cold
To
War.
beat the Russians.
Russians.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that.
Why?
Actually, that's a really good point. That is a really, really excellent point, because this is the discussion I was having with a few other people the other day. And we were sort of saying, well, would we be where we are now with space exploration, the technology we have now, if it wasn't for the Cold War and the Russians sending up Sputnik and starting a space race?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it boils down to. And it's a good point. Really good point.
Why have we not been back?
That's what I want to know. Why have we not been back since 72?
Do that.
Why haven't we?
Knew that was coming.
And go ahead. I want to hear this.
Well, that's very simple. It's politics and budget. Since 1972, NASA's budget has been slashed to ribbons. Nobody's that interested in space travel anymore. Millions of eyes aren't on them.
Wait a minute.
They simply don't.
Wait a minute. But you said no one's
Hold
interested
on,
in space travel.
finish.
You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, not as many people are interested in space travel. The interest has gone down significantly since the space race, and NASA's budget has been slashed to ribbons.
Okay. Considering their budget in between the 60s and the 70s, again, you guys can fact check me on this. I'm not 100% sure, but if I'm not mistaken, NASA gets about $20 to $50 million a day. That's not enough budget for you. And you say that we're not $50 million a day.
It's adjusted for inflation. It's completely insignificant compared to the budget they had during Apollo.
Okay.
The budget they actually have now equates to something that less than 1% of GDP, which is gross domestic profit of your country. Less than 1%. And defense is something like about 35, 40%.
Oh, it's
okay. Now
you think it sounds a lot of money, but actually, in the grand scheme of things, the total economy that NASA actually receive at the moment is really insignificant. It's really a lot smaller than you think.
So if it took that massive amount of money in the 60s, then we spent that kind of money just for posturing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, I know, but
it does.
Right. I just wanted you to say that. It sounds ridiculous. And for you to say, well, people just aren't interested in space travel. Well, we just put a Tesla in space, quote unquote. We're sending people to Mars within the next few years, and they're planning on going back to the moon. But we're not interested.
Yeah.
I mean, of course they're interested.
And that's why I rephrased. Not as many people are interested. The entire world was watching Apollo.
Yeah. That's something else. You know, another thing that makes me kind of wonder about the validity of the entire footage is back then in the 60s, they didn't have CGI. No one had the internet. No one had a computer in their pocket. So when they showed this footage on live TV, they didn't think at the time, oh, people are going to be able to watch this video 60 years, 50 years down the road and analyze it. They didn't think like that. So now that we are seeing, you know, I mean, no one knew that the internet was right around the corners. They literally thought that this was something that they're going to see once, and that's all you saw. Take our word for it. We went.
I disagree, because people were calling bullshit on Stalin's edited photos in the 50s.
Yeah.
Well, people were calling bullshit on. I mean, man, I don't know. It's just I'm trying to be cordial here. As best as
you should be.
Yeah, I'm trying to do my best, man. But
no, go on. Say what you need to say. We won't be offended. It's fine. Go on ahead. It's okay.
Well, no. It's not that, man. It just seems sketchy to me, man. And then the director of NASA at this time was a known Nazi, man.
No,
and you could say, well, what does that? What do you? Wait a minute.
For the Nazis,
Werner von Braun was a 100
part of the Nazi party.
Yes, he was a Nazi, 100%.
I will actually agree with that. He did actually join the Nazi party, okay, but it is fairly well documented. I've read somewhere that he really wasn't a big fan of Nazi ideals, and the reason why he joined the party was because he wanted to be taken seriously about his theories of rocket technology and all the rest of it.
He didn't take the Nazi party seriously.
Hold on. Hang on. Let me finish, and you'll understand. He didn't believe in the Nazi ideals, is what I'm trying to say. He wasn't happy with the Nazi ideals. Okay, but hang on. Let me finish, and you'll understand. Basically, his ambition. He wanted to go to space. He wanted to build machines that could go into space. Okay, that was his ambition. His ambition wasn't to build rockets to send over to London and bomb us. Okay, that wasn't his main ambition. Okay, but he needed funding for his research, and basically the deal was that he build rockets for Hitler to bomb London, or he didn't get the funding, and that's what actually happened. Now, I'm only going by what he's written and what's been written about him. I'm not saying that that's absolutely true. I don't know, but I'm just telling you that that's what I understood it to be. Yes, he was a member of the Nazi party. That's fact. He was. You're right.
And can I fact check something? That sure. You said he was the head of NASA. No, he wasn't. He was the administrator.
No, he wasn't.
Of the, what is it, Johnson Space Center?
I didn't say that. And if I did, I apologize.
Okay.
But I thought he was, the director of the moon missions, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't think he didn't direct the moon missions. He was very much a chief designer. No, he did direct the moon missions. He wasn't the director. He was a chief designer of the rockets, of all the rockets actually, from all the way from Gemini, Mercury to Apollo. But he didn't direct NASA. He didn't direct the Apollo missions.
Are you guys familiar with
that?
Go ahead.
A quick Google search tells me that Gene Kranz was the flight director for the Apollo missions.
Yes. Yeah,
sounds like a Nazi to me.
No, he definitely wasn't. He was all American.
I just had to put some humor. But have you guys ever heard of Yuri Gagarin?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, first man in space.
Exactly. Have you seen the footage of him, first man in space? There's footage of this.
Was there footage of him?
And if this 100%, I actually sent Craig a video of it. But when I tell you, this looks like the most doctored piece of footage you have ever seen.
Now, I want to state, while you're saying that, I don't disagree with people being in space. So that statement is all on you.
Yeah. This, like I said, we have two totally different opinions on things. But if you watch that video of the first man in space, They show him getting into something literally maybe a little bit bigger than this chair that I'm sitting in. Now, in this chair, now remember, this is way back in the day. So there's also going to be a video camera the size of my refrigerator with lights. And if you look at the lights, I mean, the shadows, and it just seems weird, man. It just seems weird that during this whole space race, oh, we're going to do this. Oh, no, let me do it. No, I'm going to do it. You know what? I'm going to do it even better. And I got footage of it. It just seems weird, man. The petrified wood, the way that they came back and they looked like they just went to a funeral at the press conference. You know, they retracting their statement saying 1 minute they see this, the next minute they don't. You know, and then this may sound like the even craziest thing, even though I'm sure this whole topic sounds crazy to everybody in the chat. But there's some video that you can see of an astronaut falling face first, and it literally looks like he's been yanked up by wires. I mean,
that was Apollo
7. Okay.
I'm not sure which one it was.
I'm going to step in here because I'm not a big fan of Gishgalop, and let's address one point at a time. You just raised 4 points that are totally separate and unrelated. So let's stick with the spacewalk that you brought up first.
And we've already addressed 3 of them.
Yeah, I was just bringing up the past ones we brought up. But as far as the Yuri Gagarin, man, it just looks it just goes to the space. Fast forward to this video a little bit. Go ahead.
And your logical fallacy is argument from incredulity.
Could be. You know, man, I hate to, like, look at this. Okay. Oh, here he is, the first man in space. He's going to go and he's going to leave the Earth and we're going to put him in and everybody's clapping and taking pictures. Oh, here's the rocket. If you could fast forward just a little bit until he's inside. Oh, he's getting into the rocket lander. Now look at this. Look at how tiny this thing is. Now wait, okay, he's sitting down in it. Look at that. That thing, now there's no camera, there's no lights in there right now. Now, wait, the next frame, there's a huge, oh, let's go ahead and put the hatch on, and he's going into space, everybody. Don't question anything. So they put this, look at that. Now there's cameras. Now look at the shadows behind them in this very small compartment, man. It just looks strange.
Between those 2 shots, there was a thing called a camera cut, and a lot of time can pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
giving them time to set up cameras and lights and whatever else.
Yeah, that capsule was very small. The Mercury capsule was also very small. Craig, I've actually sent you a picture in. I don't know if you're able to bring that up in Discord.
Yeah, 2 seconds.
I'll send it to you. When you see it, it's a schematic of the Mercury capsule. Yeah, it's tiny, and the reason for that is because to get a man up in orbit, it takes a huge amount of power, and they need to reduce the weight down. So they need to cramp everything into as small a space as possible and use the smallest possible, lightest possible materials. So absolutely, yeah, it's tiny, it's small.
Now let me put that. Now, while you're in this small, tiny compartment, look at that. Now, let me put a camera in there that's a live feed the size of your refrigerator, along with lights, along with, radio equipment. I mean, it seems like a lot of equipment to put in something so tiny.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Yeah, it's a lot of equipment. Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
And you have to remember that Russian designs. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Spaceman.
I mean, what I was just going to ask you. I mean, what's your point? Is it because it looks weird to you? Is that? I mean,
yes.
What's your argument?
It just looks sketchy, man. It just looks sketchy. It looks weird and it just looks sketchy, dude. I mean, that's the only way I can say it.
Evidence.
It's not evidence. It just looks weird. Like, if I was something that fits,
I mean, there's a lot of things in the world. There's a lot of things in the world that look sketchy. I mean, there's a lot of aircraft and military aircraft that have been designed that look flipping sketchy to me. They look flipping weird and sketchy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't true. Just because something looks weird to you and different. Because don't forget, do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 32. And Spaceman, now once have you heard me say I'm 32, but not once have you heard me say I believe 100% any of this. I'm asking
Yeah,
questions.
I know. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to. One of the things I was hoping to come through, because I saw your your debate with Fight the Flat Earth, and you were really, really open actually, and you accepted a few things. So I'm just really mostly here to actually sort of I don't want to sound patronising. I don't mean to come across that way, but because you come from a different era and a different time from when I come from, I'm just trying to sort of maybe educate you a little bit. And I don't want to sound patronising here. I'm not saying.
No, please do.
But you see,
I'm open.
This is something I've been interested in for most of my life. So I kind of built up a knowledge, and I understand why things are. So the point I'm going to make is the reason why I'm asking you what your age was, because you've come into an age, really, you've grown up with internet and modern technology being around you for pretty much most of your life. Whereas I haven't. I came from a time when in my house, I didn't even have a telephone in my house until I was about 12.
And how old are you?
And when that came along, the internet, I'm 49. I didn't have a telephone in my house until I was 12. And the internet, I didn't come along until I was about, 19, 20. We didn't have those kind of things. And I didn't have a mobile phone until I was about 22. And mobile phones are the great big satellite phones that yuppies had in London, is those sort of things. But, it looks sketchy to you because this was brand new technology. But compared to now, the technology they use was really clunky. To give you an example,
you're right.
The computer, that's you see. So the point I'm trying to make is just because it looks different for you and sketchy and a bit weird, it's probably because it comes from a different time when you're used to shiny things and really small things looking like electronic and fantastic.
Right, with the technological advances, that we've had, with that tiny thing that we landed on the moon and got up there with, now we have they said that basically the computing power of a Game Boy got them to the moon. Now we have iPhones. We have all of these great, inventions by mankind. Let's go back. We should be able to get there now. And the guy, I can't remember his name, but he's from NASA, but he's like, man, I would go back to the moon in a nanosecond if I could.
See, I don't doubt that we could get there now. I think we could.
Yeah. But he's like, I'd go back in a nanosecond, but the problem is we destroyed, the information. So you mean to tell me, y'all, the most important footage, the most important vehicle in mankind history, oh, you know what? Keep the Model T Ford. The typewriter, keep the typewriter. The limb, destroy it. The footage of us going, keep the presidential footage. The footage coming back from the moon, nope. Let's record over that. These are the telemetry data, the ones and zeros. Go ahead.
Oh, one point at a time. Right. Sorry, go on, Kevin. Go.
Well, that's not right about the lost footage. That's a famous thing, the Apollo 11 missing tapes. All that was lost was the slow scan television footage. They were basically backups.
Yeah.
Because it was broadcast live around the world.
Yeah, the reason why they had that was because the system they used they had to actually decode it, the television pictures twice in order to get it to the television screens. And the decoding systems they actually had were really clunky and really new. And they were scared that they were going to lose the live broadcast. So what they actually did was they then had a recording of it. Okay, it wasn't on tape, but it was then transmitted later on. They transmitted to it. It got to Earth, but trouble is they took it and then they lost it. Cock up, yeah, I know, stupid, ridiculous. But they haven't lost the telemetry data. People think they lost the telemetry data. They haven't. They still got it.
Okay,
that's what that was lost.
Okay, I want to retract what I said because I actually was wrong about that. I'm reading the Wikipedia. The Apollo 11 missing tapes were those that were recorded from Apollo 11 slow scan television SSTV telecast in its raw format on telemetry data tape at the time of the first moon landing, and subsequently lost.
Yeah, that's where the misconception comes from, and a lot of moon hoaxers saying, "Oh, it's the telemetry data that's lost," because they picked up on the telemetry tapes and they think the telemetry data has been deleted. It hasn't. It hasn't. They still
I
got
just want to. I just want to fact check something really quick. You mentioned that quote. I know the quote you were talking about is Don Petit. He said, I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond, but we destroyed technology. He didn't say we destroyed the information. He said we destroyed the technology. And the simple reason for that is it was obsolete. You know, they still have the blueprints.
Okay, but
they could build it again if it was 1969, but it's not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and the other point is as well is that you can actually look this up yourself. Neil Armstrong himself said that he had a 10% chance that he would never return from that moon mission or from any of the missions. In fact, probably the same with a lot of the other missions. That kind of odds nowadays would be totally unacceptable. There's no way they're going to put a man in a spacecraft if there was a 10% chance that he wasn't coming back. Not a chance. So that's the other
but
point.
they did that on the first
man.
They were okay to do that.
Yeah, because that was the only technology they had. They had to invent the technology to go there. And the
Right,
astronauts
but-
were willing to risk their lives to do it. They were asked to go. They were all volunteers. They weren't.
I love how turned up you are. I love how turned up you are. Listen, bro, I understand. But you're saying why would you send him if there's a 10% chance that he wouldn't come back? Well, why would you send him to the moon on the 3 people at that? On the first man landing foot on the moon, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the pressure's like up there. And they're up there, jumping around and playing golf and, falling down. Do you guys not realize if you get a hole in that suit that you're up there playing golf and falling on the ground with, you're dead. You're dead.
Well, let me clear that misconception first of all. I mean, the spacesuit had many different layers, and some of them were equivalent to Kevlar. Okay, so yeah, it was still a risk. You're absolutely right. Okay, but the thing was, the astronauts knew what the risks were. They were asked if they wanted to be involved, and they volunteered. They were not told to go. They knew the risks.
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. This is going to sound crazy. I want to ask Spaceman a question. Let's say you said it was a risk. Let's say the government comes to you and they say, listen, man, I'm going to give you 10 syringes with the cure for AIDS and cancer. Are you going to be throwing those syringes in the air and, hey, man, look at this, look at this? Of course not. You're going to treat that with,
come on.
With, I mean, it's literally the same thing.
It's not at all.
No,
I mean, think about it. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, the biggest achievement in mankind history. You could argue that finding a cure for AIDS, if it, what?
That's
you
the
would.
difference.
All I'm saying is,
that's the difference. What you were talking about was throwing syringes in the air and stuff like that. There's a whole lot of difference. You see, right? These astronauts were test pilots. They flew for a living. It was their passion. It was their life. They were actually putting a lot of that before their families and their wives. Okay, and the achievement to go to the moon was a massive achievement for humankind in those days. You're talking about throwing syringes in the air.
No, I'm trying to make the compare. I'm making the comparison that yes, this was a huge leap of innovation for us to land on the moon. So would you not agree that creating the cure for cancer, would you not think that would be equal, or if not a substantial? Really? You would rather land on the moon than to save millions of people from a...
Saying they're not attainable. You're comparing landing on the moon to, helping million people stay alive. Landing on the moon isn't keeping anyone alive.
What I'm saying is they're up there rolling around. There's a chance you could die. If I'm giving you a cure for cancer, be careful with it. Don't just show it to everybody. I'm talking about the precautions that they should have taken.
It's a bit of a strange comparison, but I understand.
Yeah, I know it's a crazy comparison. Yeah, that's something I do.
There are some people that would either go to the moon or do what you're talking about, and there's some that wouldn't. Okay. If I was asked to...
So Chad's been calling this out for the fallacy that it actually is called the false equivalence fallacy.
Isn't it?
Neil Armstrong talking about, a small step for man, or giant leap for mankind, and then comparing that to a cure for cancer, something that we have not done yet. compared to something that he was doing at the time. It is a false equivalence fallacy. So I'm going to nip that in the bud so we can move on and get back on topic.
Yeah,
I'll agree with that.
Let's keep going. All right, you got anything, Smoke?
Do you mind if I bring up a few things and show a few things of proof as well? Because I mean, you guys have done quite a lot of that. Do you mind if I do a few things like that now? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Right. Let me just see. We've got a few things. Craig, could you bring up? I think I called it video 1. If you wouldn't mind.
Yep, 2 seconds.
One I sent you Discord.
Right, it was this one, I believe. All right.
You don't want to go light me one?
Is that the right one?
Oh no, that's no that's not the right one. No, it's the I think it's the first one I sent you. Yeah, the first one.
This one?
Hold on, let me just go back. Hold on, clicking on everything here. Yeah, that's the one. If you can go to just to about 2 minutes or so, and then play it from there. Okay. 2 minutes will do.
1 sec.
Okay, I'll talk through it while you're doing that, and then just go ahead and play it. Well, what you're seeing is a video with two elements to it. On the left-hand side, you're actually seeing the actual footage from the Apollo 11 craft. Okay, and on the right-hand side, you're actually seeing mapping data from the LRO, which is the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is a modern satellite that actually mapped the moon to detail. So as you can see, the overlay on the right-hand side with the square, which is the image they're actually having from the Apollo 11, and you can actually see the craters and the topography of the moon matches exactly. So they're from two completely different from times. So you're talking about from a modern satellite to the Apollo 11 spacecraft. There, you can see it matches exactly. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay. So, have you got anything you want to say about that at all?
No, I'm curious as to where you're. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just curious where you're going with this. What?
Well, I'm just. What am I going with? I'm just saying to you that obviously they're from two different areas. On the left-hand side, you've got the images from the Apollo spacecraft, which is, you can see that everywhere. It's all over the internet, not just in YouTube. And also this data from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which mapped the Earth, and you can see they've matched it, and it matches exactly. You can see the craters and all the rest of it.
Okay,
do you think that was
I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, if you say so, bro. If you say so. I mean, I can do that in Photoshop right now. I can do that right now.
Okay.
I was going to say the counter argument to this will just be that the LRO is fake because reasons.
Yeah. And then Craig, if you could go to, I think it was the third thing I sent you, which was the image as well. If you remember that third video, it's just the only image that I actually sent you. Can you? I don't know if you can see that. What you're actually seeing there is again the main image you can see there is from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. I think, is that the right word? I don't know. So what you can actually see here, first of all, you can see the trails going from you can actually see the arrows pointing out the lunar module descent stage. What's been left on the moon is basically the kind of like the descent stage, as they call it, which they left that part behind, and the top part of the spacecraft, the Eagle, actually took off and left that behind. And you can actually go on Google Moon, and you can actually find that spot and actually see it. So what it's doing is pointing out the different things that have actually been left behind, and you can clearly see there's an object that's actually there on the moon, that's been left on the moon, and you can see the trails that the astronauts took going over to the small crater that they landed by. And also, as well, as you can see, the reflector that's been left on the moon, and also a seismometer as well, which they use to track seismometer. Now, the reflector is used to actually, what they do quite constantly is they send lasers up into the moon. It bounces back off those reflectors, and they can actually then measure how quickly the light comes back from those reflectors as to how far the moon is away. And a seismometer as well was used. They actually crashed parts of bits of spacecraft that they didn't actually need to into the moon, and it measured the seismic data as well. So as I said, you can go onto Google Moon, okay, and if you found the right coordinates, you could actually see those images on there, and you can see that there's clearly something man-made, which, as we know, is the lunar module descent stage.
No, that would be the answer to your.
Why can't we see the?
Yes.
Well, we can.
No. We were just.
I've heard the arguments about, because people just say, "Oh, well, why can't we point at the space telescope at the at the moon?" Actually, see, well, we don't need to. We've got an orbiter that's produced the images, and we can see it. It's there. That lunar reconnaissance orbiter has actually mapped the moon within detail, and there's lots of artifacts that's been left from all the different Apollo missions. They're all there. And the reason why we know we've got a more accurate picture as to how far away the moon is because those reflectors up there. There's actually several reflectors up there from NASA that are left up there, and also the Russians as well. And in fact, even the Israelis actually attempted to land one and place one there. That failed, unfortunately. But yeah, they can point a beam of a pulse of laser at those reflectors, and as you probably might know, the speed of light is a constant thing. So they fire that pulse of laser comes back, and depending on how quickly it comes back, they can tell how far away the moon is. So without those reflectors, they wouldn't be able to get a dead-on accurate picture of how far away the moon is.
All right, well,
man.
I think we've about covered it.
Yeah, and it looks like Fight was like, you know what? I can't take this. I'm out of here. He's like, I'm out of here, dude.
I mean, can I just ask you, did you know about those things I've just pointed out?
Well, you watched the last.
I'm not trying to take the mickey out of the air. I'm not going to take the piss out of the air. No.
Listen, man, I'm open for everything. If I have questions, I've always been told that there's no such thing as a stupid question. If you have a question, I want it answered. And everything you're giving me, I'm not saying, oh, that's fake or that never happened. It's just show me, explain it. But
I think,
man.
Obviously, we will take all of this into consideration.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate you guys. You guys are very, you're very polite, and you are quite open, and you're not on people shouting over each other. I think we've got a little bit passionate sometimes, but overall, I think, you guys are, quite good to talk to. I mean, you're getting a lot of things sort of twisted a little bit wrong at times, I think.
Well, Spaceman, I wish I could say the same about yourself, sir. It's a joke.
Oh, listen here, I get things wrong. Man. I get things wrong. We all do. And I've always said that, and if there's anybody in the chat, if they've noticed that I've said something wrong, I'll be happy to learn about it and get it, because I don't always get it right. And this has been an interest of mine since I was about 5 or 6 years of age, and I still get things wrong.
Right.
I do have one question that's unrelated. I'd like to ask at the end of this, or that deals with a question I have at the end of this. Who is the one that's actually doing the replies on your channel?
Are you talking to us?
Yeah. The Trashtalkers channel. Who's the one that actually does the replies on that?
Why do you ask?
Well, because at the end of this debate, I'm going to have a question for you guys, and it's based on one of the replies that was on your channel. So I want to know who to direct the question to.
From the channel, if it's a reply from the Trash Talkers, it's going to be coming from me, and Smokey will probably chime in on that as well.
Okay. So we can deal with that at the end.
My reply.
I just wanted to
say my name. So
yeah, his. Man, I know we're about to close it up, man, but I got a question that's kind of off topic. It still has to deal with space, but I really want someone to kind of explain this for me if you can. Man, I want to bring that picture up. The universe you were telling me with the how would Google that as?
What do you mean? Like, why is everything on a flat plane?
Yeah. All right. How would I Google that picture? I mean, what would you type in?
I'm not sure. Diagram of what do you want? The solar system or the galaxy?
I just wonder why you're sorting that out. Is it okay if Kevin, have you got anything you want to say at all, or anything else you want to add, or anything like that?
I mean, not overly. I do want to kind of echo what you said, Spaceman, that I do appreciate that this hasn't been a total dumpster fire, that you guys do seem a little bit receptive to information given to you. So I do appreciate that. I want to say that at least.
Thank you very much. And likewise, you guys are very knowledgeable, and other than Spaceman, you don't talk over each other. But again, another joke, bro. I'm joking with you. But yeah, man, I love coming on here talking to you guys. It gives us information, and it gives good conversation that the people, I'm sure they want. Our fans and everyone else's fans.
Since we're on the thank you train, I love it for when I have to moderate and I don't have to get involved very much. So that's a very good debate in my eyes. So thank you everybody for not having to step in as much as I usually do.
Right. Yeah, I'm a naturally.
I didn't want to do this.
I get a bit passionate sometimes, so I'm sorry if I just jumped all over you. I don't mean to get too hyped up, but it's just my kids and my family always telling me I'm too argumentative and I don't listen. So maybe I should a little bit more.
Yeah, well, my mum told me that I'd never get anywhere being so argumentative, and then I started the channel arguing with people.
Yeah.
But what were you saying, Smokey?
I was just saying I didn't want to do this if it wasn't going to be cordial.
Yeah. Guys, just one more question. I'm sorry, and this is off topic, but I just want to answer for this, and it may sound crazy, but you know how when you look at a diagram of our solar system, like you'll have the sun here, and then the moon, and then Earth, and you'll have all
the galaxy.
Yeah, the galaxy. If you look at these diagrams and these pictures, how come they're all like on a flat plane? They're all on a flat plane. How come some aren't up here and some over here and some over there? How come?
Why does space seem to be two-dimensional? Is what he's saying.
Well, I think what you're asking is. I think what you're asking is why do two-dimensional images appear to be two-dimensional?
No. I think he's asking why, for instance, our galaxy is a disc with with spiral arms. Why is it flat?
Right.
Why is the solar system on a plane? And I guess the simple answer for that is that they're rotating so fast that they can't condense into like their radial form. And with our solar system, for instance, it was the planets were made from a spiral of gas, and it all just retains the it's to do with the conservation of momentum. Because that was the way it was all originally rotating around the center of mass of whatever the solar system was, and that's the way it carries on.
So everything is in a completely flat, straight line.
Well, just to clarify, we do have spherical galaxies that we spotted. They're not all flat spirals. We do have spherical galaxies out there.
Then the thing about the spherical galaxies is that they aren't rotating as fast as the ones that are flat. For instance, the Milky Way, its rotational speed is a lot faster than the galaxies that are spheres, because it's literally the rotational speed that keeps the galaxy flat.
And bear in mind that the Milky Way galaxy is a flat-ish plane. The height of it, if you're going from top to bottom, is several thousand light years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's what they're actually talking about is the galaxy, but not the universe. The universe isn't like that.
No, the observable universe is about 14 gigaparsecs in every direction from us. But that doesn't mean with the center. That doesn't mean with the center of the universe. That's just what we can see, because everything outside of that is traveling it's from our perspective, it's traveling faster than the speed of light, so we could never see beyond the boundaries of that 14 gigaparsecs.
I am the center of the universe, by the way.
Oh Lord!
But thank you for answering that, because that's a question we ask amongst ourselves a lot.
I hope I answered it okay. It's hard to kind of get into words the reason why everything does appear to be flat, but it is literally mostly to do with the conservation of momentum. It was originally doing that when it formed. It was orbiting around the center of mass of the bits of gas and dirt that were clumping together. And because it was on that rotational plane, that's how it then stayed when it formed the planets.
Right.
Makes sense.
All right. That was my final question.
Well, I had to get involved a little bit.
I knew you were going to chime in with this one. I knew it.
I left the moon landing debunking to you guys.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sean, thank you for coming on to moderate. It's always a pleasure to have you on the channel.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Well,
Thank you.
so since we're wrapping it up, I do have that one question I wanted to ask earlier that I wanted to save for the end. 2 weeks ago, in one of your replies to a thread that somebody started on one of your videos, particularly your Flat Earth video, you said at Stone Monkey 3D, before we get on to moving over Antarctica, let's stay on topic of the moon landing site. If we are capable of taking full HD pictures of Pluto from Earth, why can't we get full HD pictures of the moon, of the flag in the ground? It's a lot closer than Pluto is. It doesn't make sense. Here's the issue with that question, and I'm actually going to provide an answer to you. Those HD pictures of Pluto were not taken from Earth. They were taken from the New Horizons satellite, which was actually closer to Pluto than the moon is to us.
Yeah.
Much closer. So right out of the gate, your question is made moot because it's got a false premise in it. Those pictures of Pluto were not taken from Earth. So I hope that answers that question, because you never got a reply to that in your comment thread.
Also, Sean, wouldn't the flag be pretty much just destroyed by now from solar radiation, right?
Well, first of all, the flag would have lost its color first because, UV radiation will actually decolorize things. So it would have eventually been a French flag, just pure white. Sorry, French people. No, I'm not.
But the poles are still there.
Actually, it might not be anymore because the actual flag material was made of an aluminum sheet, and that will break down over time in UV radiation. It just takes longer than the dyes that they use.
The flag itself was nylon, though, wasn't it? At least in most of them. I think
Apollo 11, I thought was
aluminum. The pole itself was aluminum, yeah, but the flag itself was a nylon, wasn't it?
I think he's saying the Apollo 11 flag.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Apollo 11 flag was made of a metal. I'm pretty sure it was aluminum.
No, yeah, the poles. Yeah, you're talking about the poles.
No, I'm talking about the actual flag material. It wasn't cloth.
Hold on. What are you about to say?
Okay. Oh, nothing. That seems odd that the flag would be aluminum.
No, the flag pole.
Well, they couldn't use cloth on it because the cloth would actually degrade really quick in UV radiation.
Okay. All right.
So the
flag was a foil material.
I'll take your word for it. I understood that it was they were all nylon. I'll take your word for it.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I was always the other person that they were made of a foil material, which is why they retained all the angles so well.
I know for certain that Apollo 17 flag was definitely nylon because I actually did a debunk video on it and I did some research, and that was certainly the case. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Apollo 11 wasn't. That doesn't necessarily mean that Apollo 11 wasn't. Apollo 11 could have been.
From what I can see, it does say that they were nylon, but that's just a cursory glance. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a very good conversation, guys, and I do appreciate everyone being nice and cordial. Obviously, whether you believe it happened or not, to fake it would have been an incredible thing to do at the time. So whether you believe it happened or not, it was still an incredible thing that happened 50 years ago today.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I did just want to say one thing that you guys were bringing up about, well, why would they send these people if there was the risk of not coming back and stuff? Well, for these guys, being spread across the countryside in a thin paste was an acceptable job risk. So they didn't care that there was a risk. That didn't come across their mind. What come across the mind of these guys was just pushing the boundaries
of
humanity. Yeah, they didn't care that.
I could understand that for sure.
Yes, there was a risk.
A lot of these guys were test pilots as well. So
exactly.
They were risking their lives as well, and also Air Force pilots as well. They, the Korean War and the Vietnam War at the time and all the rest of it. Yeah. They were risking their lives all the time. So they had a calculated risk involved. That's what they were doing. They said, well, what the benefits are of what risk they're actually getting. They might not come back.
Yeah.
Yes, I do got to think that every single Apollo flag was nylon. So I'll take that correction.
Okay.
Well, there we go. The Trashtalkers got something right. They win the debate. casual, Sean, you've just
Whoa.
ruined the whole thing.
But just nylon in UV does eventually.
This was very fun, man. Also, yeah, before we wrap it up, man, I definitely want to thank you guys very much for being cordial and having us on, and hope to do much more with you guys.
Yeah, there's a few conversations that I'd like to have with both of you about some of your understandings, and I think they could be fun conversations. And I'd definitely like to come over onto your channel and hang on your podcast for a night. That sounds fun.
Anytime.
Also,
and just for those that don't know me, for me to moderate debates like this, it is really, really, really hard to not jump in.
Yeah.
Craig knows this firsthand.
I bet, dude.
This is why
you guys probably saw me holding my head or just wanting to. I was wanting to jump in so many times, but again, that's not my role here. So I left it to I left it to Everyday and Kennedy. So yeah, they did a good job. I still wanted to jump in, but that's not my place.
So I think it's the same with people. If you're on the outside, the same with people in the chat. You'd end up screaming in the chat as well. It's kind of like, please let me be heard.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, dude, I can only imagine what the chat's going on.
Oh,
But,
I bet we've been called every name ever.
Oh,
dude,
God.
I just want to point out. On the one me and Craig did the Fight the Flat Earth discussion. Somebody said the funniest thing in the comments. What did he say about me smoking?
He said you're worried about risk adversement when you're smoking.
Yeah, he was like, you're worried about them committing suicide, but you're over there smoking a pack of cigarettes. That was hilarious, man.
Yeah, my comments can be quite brutal.
Oh yeah, but on our channel, man, I'd like to have all you guys on. We do podcasts about everything: conspiracy, paranormal,
Anything esoteric.
Anything esoteric, politics, religion. Is there a God? Do we live in a simulation? These kind of things. We actually just did one on tulpas. Not sure if you guys have ever heard of a tulpa, but we talk about everything, man, and we're growing and would love to have you guys a part of our platform as well as be a part of yours.
Sounds fun. I'm going to run through the super chats that I've received. So let's start out with William Signs for $5. Colin stayed within the CSM and never walked on the moon. I take things that never fucking happened for 1,000. Yeah, it was only the Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong that actually set a foot on the moon that time. 100 Aussie dollars from Aussie Globehead. I was an instrument panel on Apollo 11 before NASA turned me into a shillbot. And you do so well as a shillbot, Aussie Globehead. You do so well. Thank you. $10 from Alexis McCain. So a cursory Google search, I discovered 2 reports by NASA titled The Effect of Radiation on Selected Photographic Film and the Effects of Space Radiation on Flight Film. Yep, you're paying attention. And 25 PlayStation dollars from Jacob 100. Lasers and mirrors. Yeah, I like lasers and mirrors. They're fun toys. $2 from William Signs. All I hear is ravens chattering. $2 from Lady Skeptic. My 2-year-old licking a fan is smarter than these two. Ooh.
Her 2-year-old licking a fan.
Now keep in mind, guys, these are just the general chats that other people have been talking about.
Yeah.
That's an amazing comment. I wish I would have thought of that.
I missed it. What was the comment?
$2 from Lady Skeptic. My 2-year-old licking a fan is smarter than these two.
Hey, dude, I'm gonna go into a deep depression again. Jesus,
you're gonna cry. You're gonna cry live now.
$2 from Gary Little. If you watch the moon landings live, type ding. Both my parents watched it live. They told me about it. $5 from Kit. If you're on the moon and you hit a golf ball real hard, does it fly off into space? Asking for a friend.
No.
What was I think it was 2.6 kilometers. He managed to hit the ball.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I might be wrong on that, but
only an estimate. That was only an estimate. Yes, I've heard that.
Well, me personally, I would take a drop instead of trying to find it.
Yeah, you're gonna need a real dedicated caddy for that.
Can we all acknowledge that Sean has the best one-liners on Earth?
Yeah, 100%.
This dude's hilarious.
€5 from MS Digessa. I was about to comment about the Soviet Union not debunking US moon landing, but it was already brought up. So here's a random super chat for you, Fight. Thank you very much. I do appreciate Every single one of them, of course. $2 from Earth is seriously flat. My favourite flat earther, who likes to super chat things like only lunatics believe Masonic Homo sapiens walked. $5 from Tim Pryor. I watched a documentary saying they were stolen and replaced with petrified wood. There's I actually posted in the link a debunk of that whole petrified wood thing. Another $2.
I'm gonna have to look into all that.
Yeah. Another $2 from Earth is seriously flat. Love is bombarding children's website with flat Earth. I don't think we heard that. You need to do some more super chats just so we're clear on what you're saying. $5 from Tim Pryor. Fight the flat Earth. Google stolen moon rocks replaced with petrified wood. Yep. Another $2 from Earth is seriously flat. Ask a globe zombie how to test light years away. How to test light years away. Well, we know how fast light travels and the fact that it shifts into red, etc., etc. Use Google, dude. Two more dollars from Earth is seriously flat. Globe zombies suffering wet dreams of spinning balls. I love you, Earth is seriously flat. Thank you. $15 from Tim Pryor. When I got back from Hawaii, I was so worn out it looked like I'd just come back from a funeral. If you asked me what specific things I saw, I probably couldn't tell you. What's the guy's point? Also all those guys in the interview, like, they weren't public speakers. That wasn't their job. They were probably just really uncomfortable doing what they were doing. $1 from Flying Hamster, no message, thank you. Another $2 from Earth is seriously flat. Love is to teach a globe zombie how to test the globe. Thank you so much.
That guy loves you.
I know, right? $5 Australian dollars.
He's a regular.
$5 Australian dollars from John Rapp. Why did we go? Exploration. We humans are curious. We want to go over that next hill and see what's there. $15 from Tim
I want to address that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, when we first started going to the moon, it was literally just all political, which is why we were sending test pilots. By the end of the Apollo series, we were actually starting to send scientists because the scientific aspect came after the "we got you, Russia" aspect.
Yeah, which was the
it was it. Point. It started out as political and eventually started to go into science, and then people just simply lost interest. Now that SpaceX is getting everybody rehyped on going back to space, all of a sudden we have a moon mission planned. It's all about interest at this point.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I actually lost interest in kind of space and space travel, all the rest of it, quite a number of years, and it wasn't really until SpaceX came along and started revolutionising things. I'm getting excited about it again.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why I started a YouTube channel. I'll let you crack on.
$15 from Tim Pryor. Do these people even think about all the employees and all the crap that NASA makes that they have to pay for into consideration? If they did, they'd know NASA doesn't get paid enough yet. There's a list of over 200 inventions that have come from NASA. That's worth the $52 million a day alone. €5. €5 from MS Digessa. Ridiculous things that are real. Duck-billed platypus. A male model Perkin Warbeck trying to take the British throne. Poop used to make gunpowder. A male model Perkin Warbeck trying to take the British throne. I'm going to have to Google that.
I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
£2 from Global Truth. Part payment for from NASA. Oh, that's for internal communications, dude. Please.
Chill.
$2 from Junk Shop Library, 2024. Yep. Flat Earth's got 5 years. €5 from MS Jessa. I would have totally went to the moon with those odds back then because I would have known what it meant to democracy and science, immortality. Yeah, $2 from Tim Pryor. Here's $2 my wrench. I thought you already had a wrench, Tim, but you have that one now. 10 more PlayStation dollars from Olek. I'm in the army. There is a chance that I will die. Yeah, acceptable risk is just something that humans do. Just see if there's any more. 20 sex, all the sex from Bjorn Kamitz. Thanks to all for the hangout. No, thank you guys for watching. And €2 more from MSGSO with no message. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been an absolutely fantastic discussion. I've really enjoyed it. Make sure you all subscribe to the Casual Spaceman, to DeadKennedyInSpace, to Sean Hufford, and to the Trashtalkers. The links to all their channels will be in the description. That's all for tonight.
Do you mind if I just say something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really quick. I'm actually getting quite close to 1,000 subscribers at the moment. I think last look it was 824. I'm really desperately trying to monetize my channel a little bit, so if I can get to 1,000, I can at least get super chats. And I'm trying to make a living out of it. So please, if you can help me and subscribe, I want to get to 1,000 before the end of the month. So
do it. Go subscribe to the Casual Spaceman.
You have my subscription.
Also, if we could put one last in as well, the credit off of him. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and we're really trying to hit that as well, guys. If you could please help us out. Also, who's down for storming Area 51?
Oh God, no! Did you realize how many people are going to die if that happens?
Dude, I saw the most amazing meme. It was like this year, 2019 September, the Area 51 massacre. That's literally what it's going to be, a massacre.
I don't think
we're going to call it the Area 51
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, have you ever seen an A10 actually work? The last thing you'll hear is
there's be a red mist of people.
Right.
What you guys have got to remember is that all these people saying, "Yeah, go storm it," they literally think that the Air Force are going to go, "Oh, there's too many. Don't worry, just let them in." No, every single one of those people are going to get shot.
Everyone.
Yeah. The worst part about the upcoming massacre is going to be one smartass that crossed the line, and that's going to trigger everybody in the military to fire at everyone indiscriminately.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're going to kill you because you're part of the crowd of one person that crossed the line.
Yeah, don't storm Area 51.
Some people are going to be killed by the stampede.
No. What do you say?
Some people are going to be killed by the stampede.
Running away from the bullets.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say 3 words to it, and I'm gonna try and do my best American accent. Oh hell no!
As we would say it in the South, oh hell no! Hell no!
Right, so I think we'll leave that with we landed on the moon, the Earth isn't flat, and don't storm Area 51. Thank you everyone for a wonderful evening, and remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat Earth. Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Fight the flat.